So I'm down here in Newport, California. I flew over from Australia 2 days ago. I'm by myself. I bought this guy, which was a great find. It's going to be a hard project. I've never built anything like this before. I don't have any construction experience really. So I'm just YouTubing and reading blogs and stuff to get through it. So yeah, but let's get stuck into it. I look forward to taking this all around America and seeing what happens. Overall, it's just a really good blank slate to build the van out of. I wasn't going to buy something this big, but now that I have, I'm very glad that I did. It'll give me lots of room to sleep vertically. I'm 6'1" or 2", so I didn't want to sleep. I couldn't sleep sideways, and lots of more room for storage and whatnot up the front. But look, it's clean. It's got some scratches and whatnot, but that's cool. It's going to be covered up anyway. The van runs great, and I got it at a ridiculously good price for the year, the mileage, and the make. So stoked on that, stoked to start building. Stay tuned for more. Look forward to showing you guys how to build a van or document this journey in a pretty easy way. As a background, I've only got about 3 weeks to do this whole build. I'm by myself, I'm in a foreign country. I just flew over here 2 days from Sydney, Australia. So this is going to be a challenge. And not only that, is that when I'm actually building this van out, I'm going to be sleeping in it as well. Purely just, well, kind of to save money on hotels down here, but also just for the fun of it. So this might be a problem when I do things like insulation. You don't want to be sleeping with a half insulated van with fiberglass panels and stuff getting in your bloody lungs while you're sleeping. So we'll get past that nice and safely, but overall it's going to be a challenge. So if anything, it'll be a hilarious mix of mistakes. Let's see what happens. Day one, big day. We're at Home Depot and I've just grabbed a few materials for the van. We're going to start with the floor insulation floorboards today. So I've got a couple of furring strips, plywood, and this 1-inch thick insulation for the floor. Okay, so first things first, we've got plywood down here, insulation here, and just spare cardboard here. So what we're going to do is eventually have the insulation with the plywood on top, on the floor of the van. But what we're going to do first is use this cardboard to trace a template of the interior floor of the van. So then we can just trace it straight on top of this insulation, this plywood, put the insulation in, put the plywood in, and we're good. Step one is done. We've got a template made out of cardboard of the entire floor section of the van. So you basically just go around and sticky tape cardboard together so it makes a complete outline of the van. You can make little notes to yourself, you know, that this should follow a curve through that gap. Okay, we've got the insulation in. It's kind of a bit of a dodgy job, but it's gonna do fine. Now I'm gonna rip this out and actually use this to be the template for the plywood because my cardboard's kind of messed up by now. All right, day two. Yesterday was a bit of a shorter day because the workshop here closes at 4, so I didn't get through as much as I wanted, but we did successfully make a couple of templates for the van. So that is the insulation there and then the plywood underneath it. Obviously it's not going to be in that order in the van, but we do have 1 times completely empty van ready for a conversion, so hopefully we get a bit more done today. I think it's still going to be a bit of a half day, but let's get into it. All right guys, so just a little update. Yesterday we got the plywood nailed down. There's a whole bunch of cracks and stuff because I'm rubbish at cutting them out and measuring, and I just wanted to do it quickly, but we're going to fill those gaps in today. I've got a couple of the fairing strips up that I'm going to use to attach the plywood to for the walls. Today we're going to put a bit of insulation in, fiberglass onto the walls, fill in some of these gaps here that are all just little shitty bits, and then hopefully we can put the rest of the furring strips in and then start getting the walls up. And we have just reflectixed. This is the wheel well here, another one on this side, and put a reflectix rather on the bulkhead. It's called bulkhead. I never remember that. So the rest of the walls are going to be fiberglass, soft, fluffy insulation. I think it's a bit better than reflectix. Reflectix has a pretty low R value, but it's just for the front. So that was the easy part. Now it's going to be the shitty hard part. But before I lay any insulation on the wall and cover it up, the fluffy fiberglass insulation, I'm going to go around and fill all the cracks in with this stuff. It's called Great Stuff Gaps and Cracks Filler. It's a little foam that expands into gaps when you spray it in there. And there's heaps of little gaps, little holes in the walls of my van. So I'm going to fill that out so hopefully less air gets through and it's warmer and cooler, better insulated. There we go, just whacked a whole bunch of insulation up on the walls. I was procrastinating a fair bit because it was a messy job, but there we have it. Rolls of fiberglass insulation, both sides. I just kind of patched it up there in the end. There was no real technique, but I still haven't put the fairing strips up. There's half one behind me, so I got to put them in there in the middle somewhere. But yeah, that was sticky business, hot business. Now I'm going to wrap it all in plastic so I'm not breathing it in as I'm in here. Okie dokie folks, I've successfully put up the fiberglass insulation with some plastic sheeting over the top and the reflectix down the end and on the wheel wells and the petrol fill up. There are some gaps here that I've left for the tops of the fairing. My drill ran out the other day, so I'm going to continue doing that tomorrow when the workshop opens. And I've just stuck this up with shitty masking tape. You won't see any of it because the plywood's going to attach to these fairing strips and go across the whole wall and the roof. For the roof insulation, I think I'm going to go and do this insulation, the soft fluffy roll, as opposed to what's underneath the plywood, which is the hard rigid insulation, just because it sticks and it's easy. And here comes the plane, so I'll see you tomorrow. Good morning, good morning. This is day 4, I think, and we've currently got an insulated wall, a reflectix bulkhead, another insulated wall, and a couple of little fairing strips, but they're only half put up. So today I'm going to put the rest of the fairing strips up on the side of the van wall so I can stick the plywood to that, and I'm going to insulate the roof, put plastic over the top with these fairing strips along the top, and maybe even lay some conduit, possibly for some lighting. I'm not sure if I'm going to do lighting yet or at all, but I'll put some conduit there anyway. So I've just finished putting up the fairing on the walls of the van. There's a really irregular wall to this van, so it meant that I had to do it in 2 bits, and one of them was severely angled. So it kind of means that when I put the ply wall up, it's going to have a angle in. The bottom half should be flat, and that's about the bed level, but this half is going to be angled in a bit at the top, so it actually loses a fair bit of space in the van, unfortunately. But lucky she's a big beast, and it doesn't really matter. Before I put up the insulation on the roof, you'll see that I've put some electrical conduit there, and that's for the lights at the back. There's going to be 2 lights, a fan hopefully in the middle, although that's a bit daunting of a task, and then 2 more lights, one here and one here. So I basically just put them in plastic conduit and ran the cables down the side here. This is where I think the battery is going to go, and some switches, and I've just labeled them front, fan, back, so that should let me put up the walls now and already have the cabling above it nice and hidden away for when I put the battery in, and hopefully it all works. And here we are with the insulation in, so you can see the little wires sticking through. There's one here as well, and on the other side, oh, where is she? There we go. Yeah, now I'm going to cover it with plastic just so there's a vapor barrier between the insulation and the plywood. That's probably not 100% necessary, but anyway. Good morning. Today's agenda is a bit of fun stuff. Well, kind of fun stuff. It's putting plywood on the roof and hopefully the walls. So this space will start coming together and looking a little bit less like a insulation factory and more like a room to live in on wheels. It'll be tricky because I'm by myself putting the plywood up on the roof, but I'll see if I can grab someone to lend me a hand and stick it up there and it all fits and don't have to do a million different cuts. So let's see what happens. While we're here, this is a little tour of the workstation. So we're in a big car park outside of Urban Workshop, which is a place down in Costa Mesa near Newport Beach. So I'm working out the van here and this is all my gear here. I'm basically living in the van as I go. So that's a little cupboard I picked up for 20 bucks off Craigslist. Here's all my backpack and my big suitcase under a blanket here that I sleep in. And here's my materials. Here's the plywood we'll use for the roof and the walls, spare tire and some insulation. So it's all happening. It's all a bit busy. The cab's got all my backpacks and stuff in there. Here's all my tools and whatnot along the way. And yeah, this is the workstation. The roof is in. 3 sheets of really thin plywood up the top, but it's a nice light color, so it should keep the whole van nice and light. We've got the cabling coming down and it's all a bit dodgy, especially down here, but I think I'm gonna have little pieces of ply that are gonna cover all the edges up, so I'm not too worried about that. It's more like the fitting together and the joints in the middle and the color that I cared about. All right, let's get some lunch and then do the walls this afternoon. I've just finished banging up the walls and it's a bit of a laugh. My carpentry skills leave a lot to be desired, but I think I'm just going to write it all off to covering it up with certain little panels. So up the top here, I'm going to have a diagonal piece of ply and I might have some recessed LED strips behind there and have a nice little glow effect. We'll see what happens, but anything to cover up these shocking joins in the middle. Anyway, most of the walls are up. I stuffed up this piece of ply, so I need to get another one tomorrow, but it's mostly done, so I am happy. Yes, and welcome back to Obscure Roofing Weekly. Here we've got a really nice candidate for our fuck up of the week. We can see some Grand Canyon-like gaps between these pieces of wood holding up the roof and even the roof itself. So over on the right here, this is actually intentional. This is going to be some nice recessed lighting, but up the top, the ply is so thin that you can't really nail it to itself or screw it to itself. So look, we're a bit of a obscure looking van, but what are you going to do? Okay, so here we have most of the plywood set up and done. I've just gone this morning and put caulk in the gaps of the wood panels to seal it up and also make it smoother when I put the vinyl sheeting on top or whatever I choose to be the flooring. There's a little bit more ply to do in the corners there and above the door frame, but other than that, it's kind of getting this whole thing ready for building the actual structures, the bed frame and whatnot over the weekend, tomorrow and the next day, moving forward from there. So just final little touches. I'm going to put some skirting underneath these walls just so it looks all nice, and also fit some plywood to the sides here. Hello, happy Saturday. As you can see behind me, the interior of the van is just about done. All the plies up, all the corners are done to some degree. I might still add some more, but today we're going to finish it off and get ready for the bed and shelving design by laying these vinyl sheets down. So we'll give the flooring a bit of a nicer finish, give the illusion of rich mahogany, or oak at least, and it should look a bit nicer for the living area. Alright, so the interior is pretty much done, the shell anyway, and I've laid some vinyl sheeting on the floor as a nice dark interior as you step into the side door of the van. And today I'm going to paint these front sections white and also the roof white, and probably leave the walls like plywood color. So that should give a nice mix of white and wood color. I think it might look good. The workshop's closed, so we'll just paint today and hopefully air out before I have to go to bed tonight, and I won't be inhaling fumes. So here is the mostly empty van. So you can see here we've got the vinyl sheets on the floor, and it's not everywhere because this stuff's really expensive, but the bed frame's going to go over this area, so it shouldn't matter and you shouldn't see it. Today we're going to use all of this wood. We've got about 7 or 8 long 2.5 by 1.5 inch sheets and 2.5 ply sheets. We're going to put the whole bed frame and storage unit in here, so it'll be a big day, and I look forward to seeing it when it's all finished. Also painted the roof and the back bulkhead just to clean it up a little bit. So yeah, today's a big day. Now I'm not sure if this is interesting or not, but it's just a little look at the sketchbook that I've been working off to do the plans for the van build. When it comes to the layouts, what pieces of wood I need, the bed frame, how it all works, and it's all just crazy sketches and dimensions and to-do lists and shopping lists and, you know, drawings. But it's pretty fun, and I think this is actually a pretty cool memento looking back on this. But yeah, God, there's no structure to it, it's all just nonsense. Very happy situation, ladies and gentlemen. I have officially created myself a bed frame. So those are going to be the shelving units, and this is the bed frame that actually pulls out this way to be kind of a double bed, at least a wider bed. So I'm going to put this in the van, and that's actually going to pull out and then sit on another lip on the other side of the van. But yeah, that's the bed done, and we'll see it in the van. Good morning. It's a lovely Sunday morning, and I'm back on the build. Took 3 days off to hang out with some friends and to do a little bit of adventuring up around LA, Venice, Santa Monica, Malibu. Had an awesome time, but I'm back. It's Sunday morning, and we've currently got the bed frame in place, but no bed just yet. So bloody planes. All right. So looking at this, this is the bed frame here, and that slides across to this side and actually sits on this little lip here. So it converts kind of from a single to a double bed-ish. This is some storage space up here, and this is going to look very similar on this side. So this is a little hallway here with slots in there for storage. We're going to put the facade up on this today, or I am, and then I'm going to paint it tomorrow while the workshop's closed. And I've got a few little packages down here for the electronics. So that's the battery for these lights, the actual lights themselves, the wiring, some of the fittings to connect it all together. And then we should be in business. It's going to start coming together pretty soon. I'm excited for this week, and yeah. And here it is. Painted it all white, but I'm proud to say that we have a functioning storage unit, a bed frame, and another little storage unit over here. I left part of this wooden colored and I painted the bottom white. I was unsure about painting this white, but I figured I'm on the fence and I like painting, so that was enough of a reason. Let's have a look at the bed fully extended. So this is the bed frame fully extended. It just slides across from there to there and sits on this little lip, as I've mentioned, and we've got ourselves a full bed. A lot of storage underneath that hallway there, and I'll put a piece of plywood on the top here just to save you feeling those slats. But that's it, the storage unit's pretty much done. Little partitions, same as over here, and a little area up the top here. You can put, I don't know, anything. And then, yeah, heaps of room under here. Put all my stuff, surfboards, skateboards, bags, it's all happening. Phew. I've just unpacked my suitcases for the first time in 3 weeks. And I've never tasted, never tried crack before, but I can't imagine it's much better than this. So today I'm thinking about all the electricals in the car, and my setup's pretty simple. All I'm doing is putting in some lights at the top, a fan that I'm going to cut in the middle later this week, and some LED strips along the side. So what I've got is a battery that I'll hook up to the front battery or the alternator with an isolator in between to stop drawing down from the main system. I've got a fuse box. I've got some big cables that go from the battery to the fuse box. I've got a voltmeter to check the battery charge, some USB connections, a marine plug, and some more wiring connectors, twist connectors that actually go to the LED lights and the LED strip lights themselves. So I'm going to test this out inside, just closed system without the van, and see how it goes, and then I'll install it if all's working well. It's been a bit of a frustrating day. My front driver's side window actually fell down into my door, so it's going to cost me about 150 bucks that I didn't foresee, and it's stunting progress a little bit. But other than that, I built myself these little cooktops for the back doors, just with a little bit of metal and some hinges. Installed the lights, and I actually tried them out last night just by touching them to the battery, and they look awesome. It's going to be like a little apartment in here. And I put the LED light strips around the outside now and just get them set up. And then my mattress actually came as well, so I'm going to attach them to these bits of ply right here, so you don't actually feel the slats. And things are coming along, just little bits and pieces now, and I'm pretty pumped to get it all done. So I got my mattress material yesterday, and that's the blue gel memory foam at the bottom there, and I've just whacked plywood on top of it, and I've got fabric underneath it at the moment that I'm going to just spray adhesive on the top and stick it down. And I've made my first 2 little pieces of the cutout here, so it's just 3 pieces to the bed, to go from a single to a double, and then even an L shape if you want as well. So this is the workshop, by the way. Most of my work is done right through that door and at the end in the wood shop, but it's pretty cool. And here's the bed in the van, finally. A lot of nights on cardboard on an empty cargo van floor, but we've got a bed, it's in place. So you can see the 3 different sections, 1, 2, 3, that can be removed, and you can have a twin, a double, or a little L shape with that bit at the back actually stays there with the slats extended. Very excited about this. My night's sleeps are going to be 100 times better, but I'm going to miss that cardboard. So I've just spent a bunch of time under the hood down here, installing what's called an isolator down here. And what that is it's a little thing that sits in between the car's battery here and the auxiliary battery in the living room, so to speak. And it stops the auxiliary battery with the lights and the fan. It stops that from drawing down the charge on the main car battery, so you don't get, so you can start your car. So this is grounded to the chassis. It's got a wire to the fuse box, so the ignition fuse basically switches, it tells you that the ignition's on, and then it's got a positive terminal going to the other battery, sorry, to actually charge it. So it's a bit of a son of a bitch to get in here, but we did it. And now it's just to connect the positive other battery to it and get it all hooked up for some power. This is a day I've been dreading for a while now, and it's fan day. So what we're gonna do is we've got a 14 by 14 inch fan. I gotta cut a hole in the middle of the top of the van roof, and then drill it in from the bottom and the top. This will be scary stuff. There we have it, hole in the roof, hole in the roof. That was really good fun, cutting that in the roof and getting on top of the roof and just drilling down through the metal and then jigsawing around. Pretty scary stuff because you're just completely riding off the van if you mess it up, but all was good, and they actually designed the vents pretty well so you can't stuff up too much, but thumbs up, should be good. Alright, I've just finished hooking up most of the electricals, and it's down the side of the van here in a whole web of wiring next to the battery. So we've got the battery here, negative, positive, all the switches, a little fuse box down here. And basically what this lets you do is down near the front or the side entrance of the van, there's a couple of switches. The first one is, these lights. Second one is the backlights, and the third one is the fan. Oh, let's see if we can put it on. Hey, there she goes. So that feels pretty cool to get that all done. It's going to be connected to the car battery via an isolator. The only thing that's not working is these side LED strips, so I'm just going to connect them straight to the battery and use the remote control to change the colors and all that sort of fun stuff. So it feels pretty good to get the light working, and it's all coming together. Little update on progress. We're nearly done. I've done a few little decorations to the van and it's looking just about finished. So on the electrical front, this is the panel here. We've got a voltmeter, the USBs, the marine plug, switch. That's the front lights, back lights, fan, and then these are just spare for accessories later on. This is the remote control for the LEDs. It's pretty cool. So it's all working. There's the one set of lights, another set of lights, the fan's in the middle, and then if we flick this on, there's our LEDs around the outside, which is pretty cool. And then I've just done a little bit of decorating. Got some little shelves and whatnot. Got a little cover for the mattress, and here's my little charging station with my cords here. So we're pretty much done, and I might even leave it here. I'll put a little loop in at the end of the finished product once I clean it up a little bit, but what a cool journey. Took me about 3 weeks. Took a few days off here and there, so I could probably do it quicker if I had to, but completely by myself with a little bit of help from the workshop, like some people at the workshop, but other than that, completely solo. Very doable, and a whole lot of fun as well. So give it a try and come check out the van if you're in the States or Canada. Cheers.